We'll call the meeting to order for legislative session 2018-09 for the Wycomico County Council on May 1st, 2018. Those that like to stand and join us in the Lord's Prayer and Pledge of Allegiance, please do. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to recognize with us tonight we have Jack Heath, President of the Salisbury City Council. Jack, thank you for being here. We also have Michael Dunn with the Greater Salisbury Committee. We have Bill Chambers with the Chamber of Commerce. And we have Superintendent Dr. Hanlon from Wycomico County Board of Education. I don't think I've left anybody out. Okay. Of course, we do have the President of the Wycomico County Board of Education, as well as members of the Wycomico County Board of Education. Thank you. Entertain a motion from council to approve the legislative work minutes from April 17th, 2018.
So moved.
Second. Any corrections? Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Minutes are approved. Entertain a motion to approve the open work session minutes from April 2nd, 2018 in reference to local preference.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Minutes are approved. Both sets of minutes are approved. I don't know if I said that first time. Good evening, Mr. Taylor. How are you?
Good evening. Two items tonight. The first is a public hearing on legislative bill number 2018-04, an act to add Chapter 30 titled Clean Energy Loan Program to the Wycomico County Code to establish a clean energy loan program for commercial property owners, establishing the scope of and eligibility for the Clean Energy Loan Program, providing for qualifying criteria, establishing a calculation of the Clean Energy Loan Surcharge, providing for a recorded agreement and certain notice, providing for the collection of loan payments, establishing default procedures, providing for financing of a loan under the program, defining certain terms, and generally relating to the Clean Energy Loan Program. I might add before the public hearing that this does not involve loans of county money. The money would be provided by private lenders for these particular loans.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. At this time, we open the floor for public hearing on legislative bill 2018-04. If you have any comments that you would like to make in reference to this particular legislative bill, come to the podium. Please state your name and county of residence and your concerns. Keep in mind, this is only for the Clean Energy Loan Program.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, members of the council. I'm Bill Chambers, President and CEO of the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce. We had the privilege of representatives from Maryland PACE, the Chamber, and the development community to address you at a work session earlier in April about the PACE program. We just want to reiterate its importance to development and reinvestment, not only in the county but in the city. And it has been adopted by 14 other counties in Maryland. It's a nationwide program, and it'll reap significant economic benefits to the county and the city. So we ask for your support in adopting the legislation regarding the PACE program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. Any other public comments? Seeing none, that concludes the public hearing on Legislative Bill 2018-04. Entertain a motion from the council to approve Legislative Bill 2018-04. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call. All those in favor, starting with Councilman Joe Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Ernie Davis,
Yes.
Vice President Dodd,
Aye.
Councilman Mark Kilmer,
Aye.
Councilman John Hall.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Legislative Bill 2018-04 passes unanimously.
The second item is the introduction of Legislative Bill number 2018-05, the annual budget and appropriation bill of Wycomico County, Maryland, to adopt the county budget consisting of the general fund revenue and expense budget for fiscal year ending June 30, 2019, the capital budget for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2019, the governmental and enterprise funds budgets for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2019, and to appropriate funds for all expenditures for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2018, and ending June 30, 2019.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Entertain a motion from council to introduce Legislative Bill 2018-05.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Legislative Bill 2018-05 has been introduced. Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
That's it.
And President Shanti, I know you're here tonight, right? Because I walked in the door with you. There you are. Didn't see you. Okay. Thanks for being here. Mrs. Hurley, good evening.
Good evening, Council President, council members, ladies and gentlemen. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2019 budget. A public notice was published in the Daily Times stating that a public hearing would be held this evening at 6 p.m. The county executive's budget message is posted on the county's website. The proposed operating budget is displayed on the TV screen behind me, and I will read each fund number and title as shown in the budget. The executive has submitted to the county council, as required by the charter, a balanced budget. He proposes a budget funded of many revenue sources, the principal of which is property taxes. The budget proposes to maintain the current property tax rate. However, since the property tax rate is higher than the constant yield rate, a public hearing is required by state law, and that will be held at the next council meeting, May the 15th at 6 p.m. In looking at the expenditures for the operating budget, I will review one page at a time as shown in the handout. After I'm finished reading each fund and title on the handout, if anyone has anything they would like to say in regards to any of the funds on a particular page, please go to the microphone and state your name, county of residence, and your comments. Historically, the majority of the public input has been with regard to the Board of Education's budget, so that fund will be read last. We ask that you keep your public comments to 3 minutes or less to allow everyone time to speak, and also try not to repeat what other comments have been stated. Starting on page 1, we have County Council, which is Fund 01. Fund 2, Circuit Court. Fund 3, Orphans Court. And Fund 4, State's Attorney. Again, if you have any comments regarding any of those funds, please go to the podium and provide your comments. On page 2, we have Fund 05, Executive/Administration. Fund 06, Community Promotion. Fund 07, Elections. Fund 08, Finance. And Fund 09, Public Accountant. Does anyone have any public comments? Next, Fund 10, Purchasing. Fund 11, Law. Fund 12, Human Resources. Fund 13, Planning and Zoning. Fund 14, General Services. Fund 15, IT. Fund 16, Liquor License Board. Fund 17, Sheriff's Department. Fund 18, Salisbury Fire/Ambulance. Fund 19, Volunteer Ambulance. Fund 20, Volunteer Fire. Fund 21, Corrections.
I have a question.
Yes. Also on that page is Fund 22, so if there's any comments in regard to that fund.
Okay, yeah, my name is Charles Whittington. I work at Wycomico County Department of Corrections. I have a question regarding the Singer study. I'm also a resident of Wycomico County also, in Fruitland. Question, what's going on with the Singer study? I understand it was done. Wanted just questioning about the compensation for the correctional maintenance technicians and the correctional classification people.
What I would suggest, on a public hearing, it's more for comments. We usually refrain from a question and answer type
Okay,
scenario, but
Okay.
we would be glad to talk to you at any time on that because it's important. We did have a work session on it. I believe it was our last meeting, I believe,
Yes.
and we appreciate your interest in it. So we definitely would want to talk to you. If you could give your information to Mrs. Hurley,
sure.
and then we can address every issue,
Okay.
every question that you have,
All right.
hopefully to your satisfaction.
All right, thanks.
Thank you very much. Tonight, it's really as far as what the budget is in relation to corrections or any other department.
How you doing? I'm Tri Townsend, Wycomico County, Salisbury Fire Department, Station 16, President. Our question, I didn't get enough time to get everything together. I have printouts for you all. Our question is on the funding on the fire service side. When you look at those numbers in the beginning, he discussed appropriations for 11 volunteer fire companies when there's 13 in the county. And I'm showing here, we got the history for 88 years where we've been funded equally by the county under the charter of 39-1. And I can show the numbers and go through quickly the areas and things that we protect. Our volunteer services, in conjunction with the City of Salisbury, protect Prudential Regional Medical Center, Holly Center, Deer's Head, State Hospital, Coastal Hospice, 3 outpatient surgery centers, exclusive rehab center, multiple medical complexes, Anchorage Nursing Home, Salisbury Genesis, Rehab, Parsons Nursing Home, Atria Living, Mallard Landing, Village Naylor Mill, Pine Bluff, Victoria, and all those other retirement centers that we have in the area. Salisbury University, Purdue Processing Plant Labs, Corporate Training Center, Port of Salisbury Fuel Tank Farms, Purdue Grange, Chesapeake Shipbuilders, the Gravel Yard. All but 2 hotels within the entire county are under our protection and services, and the large revenue funds come from those hotels and room taxes. Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, Sam's Club, 10 standalone drugstores, Center of Salisbury, 3 food lines, Acme, many more retail stores and restaurants. Large churches of memberships of over 1,000, Asbury, Allen Memorial, Oak Ridge, Trinity, Wycomico Presbyterian, St. Peter's, St. Francis, St. Albans, Emmanuel Wesleyan, Bethesda, and many more. Wycomico County's county seat is Salisbury, yet they're not willing to fund the volunteers in Salisbury. We're at the crossroads of 2 major intersections, Route 13 and Route 50, with a traffic count of 32,881 vehicles a day on Route 13 alone. Over $200 million in product goes through the Port of Salisbury under our protection. Census estimates the buying power of $340 million for the residents of Salisbury, with actual retail sales of $1.4 billion. A lot of revenue coming through from the city of Salisbury, protected by the Salisbury Fire Department, city, and volunteers. 91% of the business revenue of Wycomico County is received in Salisbury, based on a Bureau of Economics analysis. 83% of all employment in Wycomico County is within Salisbury, Bureau of Labor Statistics. Estimated population of Salisbury during the day is over 100,000 people living, working, shopping, receiving medical attention, going to schools, and visiting the area. The census population projected in 2016 for Wycomico County was 102,577. City of Salisbury, 33,114, 32.3% of the population ignored in funding for volunteers for their fire service and EMS. Growth in the population from 2010 to 2017, there was a 72% increase managed by the city for 2,771 out of 3,844. The minority population of Wycomico County in the 2000 census estimates, 37,543. 16,880 of them are residents of the city of Salisbury, which is 45% of the minority population, unfunded for volunteer fire and EMS services as well. Looking at taxes, the money that you get, tax base, property taxes, 30.89% come from the city of Salisbury. The growth in the city of Salisbury from 2017-18 was 47.4% of the growth was in the city of Salisbury. Property tax revenue in your estimates is $65,507,705, so that's 20 million of it, over 20 million of it is from the city of Salisbury residents. 9 income taxes, just got these numbers at the last second, you're projecting 52,500,000. 2016 taxes, we were 19% of that, so that's almost $10 million from the taxpayers of Wycomico County who happen to reside in the city of Salisbury but are not funded for any fire or EMS services. The fire EMS budget is $5,113,299. Of that, the city receives $820,668 for services provided outside the city limits only. There is no funding whatsoever for services inside the city, to the county residents inside the city. We've asked and we requested funding back in January and were denied funding by Executive Culver, and his response was to the mayor, not back to us, and would not respond any further. We are currently requesting $502,570, which is only 9% of the budget if it was increased and corrected. And that would be pennies on the dollar if you look at a tax differential, which is the next step of offsetting those costs. Quick statistics for the city. Total fire calls was 3,527 calls, 2,508 of them in the city, 1,019 of them outside the city. EMS calls, 9,796 EMS calls, 6,655 in the city, 3,141 outside the city. Total bell alarms are only 218. Those are actually calls that are reported as a fire, a rescue, mutual aid to support our other county brothers without any extra funding. To backfill the station because of manpower shortage through multiple calls, hazmat incidents, 4th, 5th, and 6th EMS call runs, and delayed ambulance calls. Total hours, we work on an hour system. We put in last year in fiscal year 15,391 hours. For those in the bureaucracy area, that's equivalent to 7 full-time firefighters providing services free of charge to the citizens of Salisbury and the residents of Wycomico County. They're responding directly from the firehouse, not from home, giving you a better, faster service and response. Our biggest question is, how can the county ignore the population and funding? How can they ignore us in a history of 88 years? And the fact that other municipalities, such as Fruitland, Delmar, Pittsville, Willards, Sharptown, they're municipalities. Some of them do fund their fire services, some funding, not enough. They all admit to it. Each of the council members and people that I've spoken to, they're not giving them enough funds. They need more funds. But they get county funds for services inside and outside the municipality area where we receive zero funding. We want an answer to why are we different. This budget is a prime example of why there needs to be a fire commission with an unbiased and business-minded group, because this budget does not make any sense in the fact that they can defund, as he said, for the past 2 years, and at this time cost us almost $900,000 in revenue. It's putting off our replacement of engine tanker 11, rescue 16, rescue tools on the unit. Our SCBA has to be replaced in 2020 because they expire and they have to be replaced at that time. That budget was normally split evenly among the 3 stations and the city of Salisbury. That's a $550,000 purchase that we've got to find outside funding or have to finance and spend more money because we're not being funded properly and equally like we have been in the past.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend.
Thanks.
Good evening. My name's Shanda Perry. I am the president of the Wycomico County Firefighters Association. And just to make a few comments, I won't go into details. The council members are all well aware of the agreement made between the city and the county for their part in payment for their services provided to the county. That has nothing to do with the volunteerism of other fire departments that the Wycomico County Firefighters Association came to Mr. Culver to have input on the budget. Mr. Townsend mentioned several other fire departments that are receiving funding that he doesn't believe maybe are as important or run as many calls as Salisbury. And I don't have a lot of numbers to give you. I'm not going to bore you with that, but I will tell you that every other department in this county that I stand for that is strictly volunteer, that does not have paid other than medics, which we do have an allowance for those people, but our firefighters are volunteer. We provide a service to the county residents. I don't know if any of you are from any of those smaller towns that he mentioned, maybe Powellville, Willards, Parsonsburg, Pittsville. They're no less important than any of the other members in any of the other cities, county. Doesn't matter where you live, if you're looking for a fire service or an EMS service, we're all there to provide. That's why we do what we do. If we've forgotten what volunteerism is about, then that becomes the real issue. The budget that we asked for Mr. Culver did have a slight increase from last year to accommodate some of the things that we need. The volunteer fire departments, some of the ones I rattled off, Pittsville, Willards, Parsonsburg, Fruitland, Hebron, Sharptown, they do their own fundraising to accommodate extras that they want. If they know they need a new engine or a replacement engine, we go out and we try to make that money, and we do ask the community. That's part of our fundraising, and we appreciate all of the support that anyone in the community, whether it be from our own town or whether, a Salisbury resident comes to Powellville to have oyster sandwiches. That's what we do. It's a county thing. So Salisbury obviously has some issues with the budget. I'm not going to, again, go into great details, but there is a city-county agreement that they agreed to for their funding, which is why we did not include them. They are no longer members of the Wycomico County Volunteer Firefighters Association. They do not meet the bylaw guidelines. Something that, maybe needs to be worked on in the future, but not the issue here. The volunteer companies have asked for and been given in the budget a slight increase on most areas, and we would be much appreciative of that. As far as the Salisbury getting part of that budget, the Wycomico County Firefighters Association is not in support of that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other comments in reference to ambulance, fire, and emergency services?
Mary Ashanti, Wycomico County NAACP President, to President Cannon, County Council, all those assembled, good evening. Just looking at corrections and Sheriff's Department, and I see that in the Sheriff's Department, item 52, operating expenses, one-time operating expenses. Last year and again this year, they're getting one-time operating expenses. And I don't see that for the corrections. Maybe it wasn't asked for, I don't know. But I do know the state of the country and in reference to, and the state of Maryland in reference to corrections, that correction officers are working overtime, being forced to work overtime because there's not enough people to cover that, which is not safe. Not safe for them, not safe for the inmates, and really not safe for the community. So like I said, I don't know why they've never had one-time operating expenses. But it seems to me if they're understaffed and whatever, something needs to be done a little extra to make sure that they're fully staffed. Thank you.
Thank you, President Ashani.
Are there any other comments regarding that page? Moving on the next page, we have Fund 23, Protection of Animals, Fund 24, Public Works, Fund 25, Fruitland Water and Sewer, Fund 27, Mosquito Control, Fund 28, Gypsy Moth Control. Are there any comments regarding any of those funds? Next, we have Fund 31, Community College, Fund 32, Public Library, Fund 33, Tri-County Council / Shore Transit, Fund 34, Public Health, Fund 36, Extension Service, Fund 37, Community Access Channel, and Fund 38, Office of Economic Development. When you go to the podium, if you can stand slightly to the left of the podium, so the microphone, the Channel 47 microphone is not in your view. A little this way, sorry. Thank you.
So, hello, my name is Jake Burdette. I'm a resident of Wacomico County, and I'll keep this short. I'm here to talk about the community college budget. As I'm sure all of you know, this past year in the Maryland legislative state session, they passed free community college statewide. I have not looked to see how that's going to be funded. I'm guessing, considering that you guys are still putting money in 2019 towards community college, that the state and the local counties are sharing that expense somehow. So I hope that you guys do the necessary research to see how that's going to change the cost from what you guys had to pay previously. And that's all. Just please do those calculations, make sure it's fully funded. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council President and council members. I'm Andrea Bursler. I am the Executive Director for Wacomico Public Libraries. I am here to speak tonight about the public library budget. Very quickly, the budget numbers that are in the budget are 84% of what the library received 10 years ago, not adjusted for inflation. We are funded 84% of what we were 10 years ago. Not 100%, not 110, but 84. We are the poorest funded library in the state of Maryland per capita. We have been for the last 7 years. The reason for that, and I have charts for you, because that's what librarians do, is because of the county portion of this budget. As of the 2016 numbers, which are the latest numbers we have and which just came out within the last 2 weeks, Wacomico County is 5th in receiving state funding for its public library and absolutely last when receiving county funding for its public library. The money that we receive from the county is less than the purchase of one book per resident of this county. That cannot continue, and this flat funding that we've received in this particular budget is truly going to hurt public library services in this community. We have healthcare expenses. We are in the pool with the county, and those healthcare expenses have not been accommodated for in our budget. So we're looking at having to take on that additional expense inside of a budget that has been flatlined. We also did not receive any funding for any sort of COLA increases for our staff, even though the county did so for their staff. I find these to be abysmal treatment of the public library services. And I'm sorry to be so blunt, but I'm very upset for my staff. They work very hard. They do incredible work. We have launched several initiatives this year that are being copied by libraries throughout the state. And yet, this library does not receive the respect that it needs to from its own county. I ask that the county council and the county executive, of course, look at this budget very hard, because this is going to hurt the residents of Wacomico County who need our services most. We will not be able to expand hours. We will not be able to get the bookmobile on the road anymore. We will not be able to expand programs and services such as our Job Search Center and our Homework Center and our Project Read, which teaches adults to read. All of those things will be flatlined and may have to be cut because we have to accommodate this healthcare expense. We are an important service to this community, and I think that as part of the educational community here, to be left at 84% of your funding from 10 years ago is a statement that this community just cannot afford anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bursler.
Hello, I am Audrey Orr. I'm on the Board of Trustees for Wicomico County Public Libraries. I also volunteer with the Friends of Wicomico Public Libraries. I share and can only echo Andrea's concern. She expressed it perfectly. All the board members would agree. I won't recover that, but I'll speak to you as a private citizen of Wicomico County. More than any other organization that I can think of, the library provides community, cultural, and business resources. And as someone who teaches financial literacy to some of our most vulnerable and underserved population, the homeless, people with disabilities who may be entering the workforce for the first time in their lives, drug-addicted folks struggling with drug addiction that are just now recovering and recovering their lives in the general community. I particularly know the value of the resources the library provides to these populations. Andrea mentioned Project Read, Homework Help Center, Workforce Development, all key, all programs that these populations use, and I don't know where else they would find those resources at no charge. We do not want to be in the position of limiting these, as Andrea mentioned. We want to be in a position of being able to expand them as these populations in Wicomico County expand and need our help. Lastly, as I learned when I moved here 15 years ago, the library is one of the institutions that realtors point to as they rightfully tout the quality of life here in Wicomico County. It's also something people consider when they determine if they're downsizing or making a change in their life. Do they want to continue living in Wicomico County? As we discussed at the recent Light of Literacy Awards breakfast, and I see many of folks in the room were there with us a couple weeks ago, a vibrant library system is indicative of a healthy community that cares about the love of literacy of its citizens. And it's a driver of the quality of life here in Wicomico County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, on the next page, we have Fund 40, Pensions and Retirement. Fund 41, Hospital and Disability. Fund 42, Workers' Compensation, Liability Insurance. Fund 43, Debt Retirement. Fund 45, Social Services. Fund 46, Contingency Transfer Reserves. And Fund 50, Roads. On the next page, we have Fund 60, Recreation and Parks. Fund 83, Grants and Mandates. Fund 84, Dove Point. Fund 85, Maintenance of Aged and Community. Fund 86, Commission on Aging. Fund 87, Life Crisis Center. Okay, and looking at the governmental and enterprise funds, we have Fund 51, Solid Waste. Fund 52, Airport. Fund 53, Electrical Board. Next, we have Fund 54, Local Management Board. Fund 56, Narcotics Task Force. Fund 60, Recreation and Parks. On the last page, we have Fund 61, Wicomico Youth and Civic Center. Fund 62, Tourism, Nursing Home, and last, Fund 30, Board of Education. If you have any comments regarding any of those funds, please go to the microphone.
Good evening. My name is Bill Turner, and I'm a resident of Wycomico County. I'm also a member of the school board. I do have a handout to give to the council, it's a short one. I did your work for you. I did a little highlighting for you already to hit the key points.
You have pictures too, that's good.
I do, yes. Yeah. It was just 8 months ago that I sat in front of you for an interview before being appointed to the school board. And one of the things I promised you was that I would not support a budget request that asked for funds to throw at a problem. And we have not. The request that we made to you is very specific. It solves problems. And I'd like to talk to you about the rationale for our request this year for the extra funds. I think we all agree that we can do more to help our students achieve. It's a amazing it's an amazing excuse me, I lost my train of thought. It's a economic development issue for the county, and when we have great schools, we have great citizens and great job opportunities in our county. So the superintendent and the school board together looked at what some of the issues. We knew that we had some areas that we wanted to solve. We looked at those problems. The superintendent suggested solutions to those problems, and we decided what would it cost to solve those problems. And that was included in our request to you. So our rationale, let me just hit those real quickly. There were 3 parts of our extra request this year. It was early childhood education, too few children in Wycomico County, that's 33%, enter kindergarten ready with sufficient academic skills. And for children who come from low-income households, that figure is even more striking, only 28%. And for minorities, Hispanics, 22%, African-American families, 26%, and even fewer students enter kindergarten in Wycomico County ready to learn. Research, and almost all research, suggests that participation in high-quality early childhood education can enhance a child's development, improve achievement gaps at kindergarten entry, and even have long-term benefits for the children's school experiences. And that's why we requested for the funds for pre-K this year. Second, engaging a 21st century instructional program. We don't think we graduate a sufficient number of students. Currently, it's approximately 82%, I think it was the previous year's number, who enter grade 9, graduate with their peers 4 years later. We can do more to improve that. Personalized learning maximizes opportunities for every student. And what that means is that some students learn at different rates. It takes different skills for them to graduate. We can also target instruction and resources to help students progress at their own pace. Our request to help us improve the graduation rate addresses those issues. We also think we need to continue to have a high-performance workforce. A persistently high rate of turnover contributes to a concentration of inexperienced and underprepared staff in schools and threatens student success in schools. With a 3-year average turnover rate of 20%, Wycomico County Public Schools is focused on improving the consistency of a high-quality, experienced workforce for the academic welfare of all of our students. So we're asking you to fund to help us keep a highly motivated and trained workforce, and that takes dollars to do so. Those are the 3 parts of the superintendent's vision. And I'll end my comments now and let other speakers address some other issues for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
Council President Cannon, Vice President Dodd, members of the council, if I could ask Mike Don, President, CEO, Greater Salisbury Committee, to join me as well. Bill Chambers, President, CEO, Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce, and quickly, I'd just like the members in the audience who represent the business community, the Greater Salisbury Committee, United Way, Community Foundation, and other organizations, if you just would stand, please. Thank you all for being here. Together with the Greater Salisbury Committee, numerous organizational leaders, business owners, and corporate leaders, we are here united in asking for your leadership and commitment to the following imperatives concerning the Wycomico County Public Schools and public education for our children. All of us are aligned and driven to advocate for a new direction in how we look at our public education system. The tide needs to turn. We all lose if we collectively lack the leadership to make investment decisions for public education that point Wycomico County in a win-win direction for years to come. First, invest in the initial phase for universal pre-K in fiscal year 2019. Commit and adopt as your budget roadmap the blueprint created by the Superintendent of Wycomico County Public Schools, Imagine 2022. It outlines outcomes and the return on investment for our county as a whole. Commit your budget vision and actions moving forward to demonstrate that our county council is pro-investment in education. If you are pro-education investment, you are pro-business. Maintenance of effort is not a badge of honor. It is an obligatory state mandate that does not demonstrate forward thinking. It doesn't keep our economy competitive, and it's not putting students and families first. It's unacceptable and it's arcane. It's demonstrated that jurisdictions that have invested above maintenance of effort attract and retain the best and highest, brightest teachers. Those teachers stay in the school system. Graduation rates rise. Achievement gaps are narrowed. Test scores are markedly improved, and the school system rises in its rankings statewide. Public education is the #1 driver of a local economy. Businesses flock to jurisdictions with a high-achieving school system. It is the highest priority for businesses looking to expand or locate in any city or county, bar none. The business community can no longer sit idly by and witness a commitment to obligatory funding and not forward-thinking budget decisions in education investment. We're here for the long haul, all of us, and we're also here for the overhaul that is essential for our future. Before I conclude, and on a related note, and another concern of the business community, our public library system and their hardworking staff who are county employees, serving more and more county residents every year, are inexplicably left out of the cold for the FY19 budget regarding their increases in health premiums and cost of living increases for their staff. Both of these items included in the overall county budget, but left out of the library budget. In fact, library staff received no cost of living increases last year while county employees did. We're sure this is an oversight that you will all look into to correct. A flatlined library budget, a part of our educational footprint, is not fair or balanced. And I ask all of you to take this under consideration. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers.
Mr. President, members of the council, thank you so much for allowing us to be here. My name is Mike Dunn. I'm the president and CEO, as Bill said, of the Greater Salisbury Committee, and it's an honor to be here. I will look at several of my people who I respect up here, and one of the things that you've told Bill and myself over the course of the last year or so is we don't ever see you here. Well, again, I might ask one more time, those that are here from the Community Foundation, the United Way, the Greater Salisbury Committee, the Chamber of Commerce, and other philanthropic and community interests to please stand. Thank you. So we're here, and we appreciate that we are here. We come in peace, as I have said to many of you, and I want to commend. We come in peace, and you won't hear any angry comments out of this podium. You will hear what we think are logical and reasonable explanations. One of the things that we think, and I think I said this to Mr. Cannon the other day, there's going to be a county council that at some point in time puts maintenance of effort behind them. we're not going to be forever a maintenance of effort county. You know it, I know it, and the people in this crowd know it. So at some point in time, a county council and a county executive have got to take the courageous step to move us where we need to be. So if it's not you, it's going to be another council. There is an election coming up, there may be new members, and one of the things that is important to understand, and Bill said it, we're not going away, and by that what we mean is we are under no illusion, none, that this problem can be solved this year and with the stroke of a pen. But we think that what has to happen is an attitude change, and we know that this is a long haul, and that's why we're here, and that's why these people are here tonight. I just want to lead with something that, another thing that I find a little bit disturbing. I've lived here since I was 4 years old. Wicomico County has always been a conservative area, but it's also always been a forward-leaning area. You're not allowed to use the word progressive in 2018, so I'm going to use the phrase forward-leaning. That's why we have Warwick Community College. That's why we have an airport, the second largest airport in the state. That's why we have the Salisbury Zoo. That's why we have the Civic Center. That's why we have the Henry Parker Athletic Complex. That's why we have Salisbury University. That's why we are building an amphitheater. That's why we just had a Salisbury Marathon where 1,300 people showed up. That's why we have Ben's Red Swings. And it's why this summer we have the National Folk Festival. It's coming here. It's coming here for a reason. It's because Salisbury, Wicomico County, Pittsfield, Parsonsburg, Sharptown, Hebron, Nanacoke, Tyaskin, Willards, and I know I'm leaving some of them off, but I don't mean to. Wicomico County has always been a forward-leaning community. And we're here tonight as a community asking you to consider the tough questions and to thank you very much for allowing us to be here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn.
Good evening. My name is John Palmer. I'm a member of the Wicomico County School Board, and Mr. President, I too come in peace. And I do have a handout. It's not in color, like Mr. Turner's, and I have no pictures. But I think it's going to be pretty easy to understand.
John, could I ask you to lower that Channel 47 microphone there? We love having them here, but we just, can you bend it any?
Bend it?
Yeah, so they can still hear. We want them to still hear, but
Can you hear me now?
just even it out a little. Thanks. I'm just trying to get a little bit lower so it's good for the public. Do you think you can make it better? Maybe if you put it on the side. Keith, maybe if you put it on the side. And let us know if you can still hear it, okay? He's just going to adjust it.
Why am I the only one having a problem with the mic?
That puts the logo right there on the side, too.
No charge.
How's your audio?
Ready to go? All right, thank you. As I was saying, I bring pictures. The pictures that I am showing to the Wicomico County Council right now. This is a picture of a pie chart that was sent to the county council by the county executive. And I'm just kind of a simple person. When I look at something like a pie chart such as this, I try to take it for its face, what it is. And in this pie chart, it shows a section in here, and it's listed as education. Now, I know the members on the county council know what the education incurs, but a lot of people don't know that education is much more than this 41% they're showing here. In other words, you have Warwick Community College, you have the library, you have the extension service, you have our school debt service. This is all included in the Board of Education, or in education. I'm up here speaking for the Board of Education. I'm not speaking for the other ones right now. And when I look at these figures, I've seen something that was kind of alarming, and I'd asked for some help with it, and I think I got the right numbers here. But this first pie chart that you're looking at shows that the education in Wycomico County is getting 41.4% of the pie. It's about $62 million. The very last pie chart that you're looking at on that page will show you what the Board of Education is getting in percentage after you take out our debt, and they have Board of Education debt. So far, this is the only pie chart I've seen where a debt is included with a department. For some reason, our debt is included with us. And I noticed that up at the top, there's another slice up there of the pie. It says debt also. So I don't know why it's different. The two are different. It seems like the debt should be in one. So that's why we took it out of the bottom pie chart. Now, when you take that out of the bottom pie chart and you start looking at the percentage, you come up with 28.8% of the total. Now, a lot of people are used to seeing 48%, 52%, 41%. For the Board of Education, that is a little bit of a misleading figure. What the Board of Education is getting is it's right around $43,600,000. So when you start seeing these percentages and they're confusing, ask questions. Just don't accept what somebody gives you, because sometimes things might want to be skewed one way or the other. So please ask questions about that. And I ask you to double check my figures. If it needs to be corrected, I always stand to be ready to be corrected. Another thing I just want to talk on briefly, and Mr. Dunn talked about it with the community involvement. I was at a school board construction meeting recently. Mr. Davis was there. He's always there. And there was a point that came up that I didn't really realize before. It didn't stand out. And we have a school that's going to be getting a systemic renovations, Delmar Elementary. That school is going to change in the next 3 years. It's really going to change for the better. So it's getting a systemic renovation, and the figures are a little over $10 million, I believe, what it's coming in at. But what I didn't really realize was that 58% of that money is coming back into our communities and staying on the shore. So if you talk about an investment in the future and in the community, when you approve these systemic renovations, when you approve new schools, this is also putting money back into the community. And I think everybody ought to realize that. And that figure, I think, ought to be put out so that everybody knows it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kathleen McLean. I'm a Wycomico County resident. I'm on the Board of Directors for the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore, and I chair our Community Initiatives Committee. When we thought that Mr. Thomas couldn't get back in time, he's our chairman of CFES, when we thought he couldn't get back in time for the meeting, I was going to step in. However, now I'm going to defer my time to him And I have a printout of the general message from Community Foundation. Jim?
Thanks, Kathleen. I am Jim Thomas. I'm chairman of the Community Foundation. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about this major question of education in Wicomico County. The Community Foundation has been serving this community since 1984. We've made education and youth programming a centerpiece of our focus. From scholarship programs that now distribute more than $500,000 to support local students, to annual grant making to support public libraries, school libraries, classroom-based programs to provide teachers with valuable funds they need to enhance the curriculum. The Community Foundation is committed because we know that a well-educated population will help to achieve our vision of a community where we can all live, learn, work, create, and prosper. Early intervention for underserved or at-risk children has shown a tremendous return on investment, demonstrating an average of 7 to 10% on investment through better outcomes in education, health, and sociability, and economic productivity. Last year, our Community Initiatives Committee, chaired by Kathleen, made a commitment to do our part to support early learning initiatives. Supporting local literacy programs, enhancing community collaboration, and providing a new funding initiative for early learning programs are some of the first commitments we have made. And I will say that her committee is looking seriously at taking next year's budget and contributing the entire amount to the same purpose. But philanthropy is one piece of the public-private partnership. Our business community, our education leadership, our local funding partners are all stepping up to the plate now. The commitment of the county to a maintenance of effort approach would be understandable if our county's education system was #1 across the board. It is not. We have visited and funded every school in this county and support and recognize the commitment of our Board of Education, the teachers, administration, and staff of our public school system who are constantly doing more with less. Earlier this year, the Maryland Department of Legislative Services outlined a summary of school funding per pupil by county. Many of us have seen these numbers. There's been a lot of debate about it. Wicomico County ranks 13 in overall funding, but when you examine that by federal, state, and local sources and rank us by local investment, our county investment, we are 23rd. At the local level, we need to invest in our future. We are proud to stand here tonight as a partner in supporting local schools, education, and youth. We are committed to early childhood education and ask you to start taking the steps up the ladder. A maintenance of effort when you're 23rd is just not enough. We want to work together. We'll do whatever we can to help you along the road, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Good evening. My name is Jim Hartstein, and I'm a resident of Wicomico County. I come to you tonight as the chairman of the board of directors for the United Way of the Lower Eastern Shore and the vice chair of the Greater Salisbury Committee. But most importantly, I come to you as a father of James, who's 4, and Morgan, who's 2, both on the cusp of heading into our public school system. During my time with the United Way, I have seen firsthand that when a child has the financial resources, the time, and support, both through our Imagination Library and our Read to Succeed program, they can and will perform better. During my time with the Greater Salisbury Committee, I've learned about the way that maintenance of effort is traditionally worn as a badge of honor. Learning about that is not only incredibly disheartening, but it's also very disturbing. At my house, we are teaching James and Morgan how to always do their best. At no point have we ever had a conversation with them about always doing the minimal amount required. A properly funded school system is without a doubt a true boost to our local economy. At the Greater Salisbury Committee, we have had the pleasure of seeing Dr. Hanlon and her incredibly talented team's plan for 2022. And we are fully confident that with the proper financial resources, they will be able to execute and completely uplift our community. On behalf of the United Way, the Lower Eastern Shore, and the Greater Salisbury Committee, we strongly encourage the council to take a close look at the school funding for 2019, including universal pre-K. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
protocol being established. My name is Mary Ashanti, and as always, I thank God for the opportunity to be here. I support everything that's been said so far, but in the past over 20 years, the NAACP has come to the county council and supported funding for the Board of Education. We've even gone to Annapolis when necessary. I think a few weeks ago, I was here and I showed you this, and I told you that we support the recommendations in Dr. Hanlon's book. Also, about a week ago, the president, Ms. Smith, of one of the education organizations, came before you and did a presentation which we support. There's a letter to the Wicomico County Executive, Wicomico County Council, and the citizens of Wicomico County. So I'm sure you already had this document. We support, again, we support the recommendations from Dr. Hanlon and the Board of Education. I think earlier in the past few weeks, we said that we support universal pre-K. It's very important. I've seen firsthand kids who did not go to pre-K, barely got to kindergarten, and now they're failing. Many of the kids that do not get pre-K and don't really get a good kindergarten, we probably end up in Naylor Mill Road, and we want to prevent that. I know that's being extreme, but that does happen. Without universal pre-K, we think that a lot of kids will fail. Over the years, we've advocated for small classrooms also. I came before you before to ask that the Board of Education get the proper funding they need to have social workers with behavior training. Social workers to do the job of just that, and not teachers having to play social workers and teacher. We want teachers to teach, social workers to address emotional problems and whatever. We want psychologists to be available, and we want home liaison workers that will connect the school and the home together. And I think with all of those things and what's recommended in here, Wicomico County will be in that group that exceeds in education. Thank you.
Thank you, President Shawnee.
Good evening. My name's Chris Eccleston. I'm a proud resident of Parcelburg, Wicomico County. So I moved back to Wicomico County in 2007. Could have lived anywhere in America, but I chose here because I love it here. I was born and raised here, and I saw a tremendous opportunity here as a young guy who wants to work hard and try and make a name for himself. I saw opportunity. I see the same amount of opportunity here tonight for everyone, the entire community, and I get really passionate, so sorry if I'm all over the place. I don't write anything down. I speak from the heart. So there's opportunity tonight, long-term, positive opportunity and growth for the Lower Shore area, for Wicomico, for the city of Salisbury, and all the outlying municipalities here. The hub of Delmarva. And I'm a person who looks at messages. And I talked to one of your councilmen earlier, and I laid out an analogy. Our company is a young, fast-growing company, but if I didn't wear, if I wore holey shirts and I had rusted Vans and I showed up kind of disorganized and befuddled, I probably wouldn't get a lot of a business, and that would be sending a message to my customers. So the opportunity is that we can send a message to our children, my children, our teachers, our community, our business folks. Everywhere on Delmarva, we can send a message that Wicomico County is now ready to move the needle. I have no idea what the needle is. That's why you guys are leaders and I'm not. But we have the opportunity to start moving the needle in a positive direction. This is going to be a long haul. It's going to take a lot of time, and the business community and the Board of Education and all these great institutions are here to support and start moving this needle in a positive direction and investing in Wycomico County and the future of our children. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Eccles.
I'm Chris Hayes. I'm a Wycomico County resident. I'm a business owner and a GSC member. I'm also the father of a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and you guys have a tough job. I don't envy you, but I also have a tough decision to make with my girls, and that's where to live so that we decide where they go to school. And I have a lot of friends. I want them to go to school in Wycomico County. I have a lot of friends that are moving to Worcester currently, including my business partner, because the schools in Worcester are better. And I think if we can make some baby steps, I don't know what they are, like Chris said, just baby steps above maintenance of effort, it would go a long way in showing that we are taking steps to improve the schools, and the universal pre-K would be a big first step forward. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Joan Smith, President of Wycomico County Education Association, a resident of Wycomico County in Salisbury. Public schools are our foundation. They are the foundation of a healthy community. They're essential for our children's future. For years, Maryland has been the model of a high-quality K-12 public education. But the formulas funding that acclaim have not kept pace with the changing student body, the increased poverty, endless state and federal mandates, and with adequately supporting the professionals who are charged with one of the most important constitutional obligations in the state, providing a thorough and efficient system of free public schools. Moving forward, maintaining the lead requires more. Our legislators wisely passed Fix the Fund Act, which will put into the ballot for voters a chance to use funds from casinos for schools without derailing the money to other expenditures. The Bridge to Kerwin, a funding package to provide money over the next 3 years for schools while the Kerwin Commission continues work on a realistic school funding formula. Now it's time for us, for Wycomico County. We must lead on the local level to forward education. Let's invest in raising a culture of education in this community and the opportunities that only it can afford through universal pre-K. Let's measure the effect of universal pre-K's impact on our youngest students, as discipline issues will, over the years, reduce. And through our students' strengthen emotional and social well-being, that added hope that only an education can bring. And in that secure and productive environment, education is that springboard. It springboards students to opportunities, leading to a higher percentage of successful graduates. This council has the opportunity to enact change, to improve our public schools, to elevate the professions, and most importantly, to facilitate the education and future of generations of our students. Gentlemen, I thank you for the work that you do and for the tough decisions that you make. Mr. Holloway, I respect and appreciate all that you've done to help bring to this community's awareness the level of dedication of our servicemen and women. Thank you for the work of all your family members in education, and for yours, Mr. Dodd. Thank you for the work that you're leading and for ensuring that educators' voices are a part of your deliberations and the final work product that this community needs and this community deserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Good evening. My name is Samantha Scott. I am a psychologist at the Child and Family Center. I'm also an executive director of 1 Year to Empowerment. It's a program for teenage girls in high school. I also am a graduate of Parkside and lived here all my life, and the mother of a 2-year-old. So kind of in the same boat as these guys and know them, and it's a frustrating and sad discussion that we have trying to decide where we're going to send our kids when we've had positive experiences here in Wicomico County. I will be brief, as I did not plan to speak, but I think an important point needs to be made in terms of mental health and what early education, appropriate education, does in terms of mental health. Statistically, I don't think it's any surprise that anxiety, depression, self-injury, suicide, and coping with drugs and alcohol is the highest it's ever been and still on the rise. It's scary, and what I see on a daily basis is terrifying. And what I see on a daily basis is kids who could have been identified very early or who could have been much more successful had they been given a healthy start when they started school. And these kids, 33% or even higher who aren't ready to start kindergarten, we're setting them up for failure, and you're setting them up to come to me and to be in a really bad place by the time they hit middle school and high school, which is what I mostly deal with. So if you want to save money, you need to put it in preventative measures, which I think is the Board of Ed and Dr. Hanlon's plan, and universal pre-K and appropriate education for students who need accommodations. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chelsea Jones. I'm the Director of Sales at Hampton Inn in Salisbury, but I also am the President of the Hotel Motel Association. I'm also a mother of 2 children, 4 and 2, Brantley and Lucille Jones. They'll be attending school next year, my son will, and we're preparing to make that same decision as like Chris had mentioned. Where are we going to send them? Do we have the funds to send them to private school? But on a positive note, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of background. So when in the hotels, we experience all sorts of people that come through our door. But when they come to our door in the summertime in the heat of July and it's raining or it's super, super humid outside, I'm sending them down to the library. I'm sending them to experience something that's free, that's not going to cost them. And then what they do in return, they go to the library and then they walk through the streets of Salisbury and they go and grab lunch, or they do something to drive our economy. So I really think that it's important that we're focusing on that area to make sure that we're constantly growing and we're giving back to them. But with that being said, I also want to talk about my background. So I grew up here. I'm also a local. I came back to the area after my husband served in the service. Whenever you see some of the people that Dr. Hoy sends us from his tourism department at Warwick, you would be absolutely amazed. These students come in that door and you would think that they have been in the hospitality industry their whole entire life. I've done it now for 8 years with Hilton, and some of them can teach me things that you've never seen in your life. So I really feel that it's important that we back up and we really see that picture of it, because at some point in my life I'm going to want to retire and not have to work, and not have to worry about my baby, my hotel, and who's going to make it thrive. So if we're standing back and we're looking at those pre-K students, we want to keep them, we want to retain them, we want to make them succeed. I really feel like that's an important area to focus on at this point. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President, council members, fellow citizens. My name is Donnie Waters. I'm standing before you today as a resident of Wicomico County, concerned about the situation, and I'm in full support of the library and also the request by Dr. Hanlon with the Board of Education. Just before I start, real quickly, how many of you guys graduated from schools in Wicomico County? Just raise your hand. Hi, be proud. All right? So, the reason why I did that, you would be surprised in Wicomico County, there are individuals who graduated from high schools, whether it be Parkside, Wahai, or Bennett, that are in leadership and responsible for thousands of employees and this is just a conservative guess, not guess, but a conservative number, at least $8 billion. $8 billion of revenue. And that's pretty impressive for for people that graduated from Wycomico County high schools. But it all started early on. You were prepared, and you had good teachers, and you were told that you could do. I'm gonna talk from a little different perspective, which has to do with if you got, not sure whether you council members understand or not, but workforce vision is embedded in the principle that Maryland economic prosperity is directly, according to the state leadership, that's the executive and also the legislature, tied to the education and skill level of the state's workforce. 11 of the 15 fastest growing occupations in the United States, so that also includes Wycomico County, require some college, and 9 of those 15 require associate or bachelor's degree. That means they have to be prepared early on in order to go on to college and complete that. We are now, ladies and gentlemen, in the throes of the 4th Industrial Revolution. IoT and digital fluency in technology is rapidly altering the ways we interact and work, linking communities and workers in increasingly sophisticated ways and opening up new opportunities. Technology and globalization competition are significantly shifting business models in all sectors, increasing the pace of change in job destruction and also job creation, including new forms of work as well as skills churn within existing jobs. And I'm often told by leadership around here there are over 3,000 jobs going unfilled because there isn't a skilled workforce to fill them. Now, I'm not necessarily buying into that, but this is what I'm told. Education and training systems have remained largely static and underinvested in for decades, are largely inadequate for these new needs. Some studies suggest that 65% of children entering primary school today will have jobs that do not yet exist and for which their education will fail to prepare them, exacerbating skill gaps and unemployment in the future workforce. Education from early childhood and continuing throughout the course of a working life has tremendous potential to combat inequality and unlock the potential of individuals and entire economies. Today, the quality of and access to education continues to vary widely between different pockets within our community. And I'm certainly concerned about my community where the unemployment rate is higher than the other parts of the community. Given the breadth of the transformations required, governments, employers, educators, and parents must work together to develop talent-rich economies that drive growth and enhance social cohesion. Quality of life, business, and education are intertwined now in the 21st century like never before. Universal equal access as defined by Superintendent Hanlon's Imagine 2022 plan, high-quality basic education is the foundation on which individuals can build dignified, meaningful lives in Wycomico County. It is the basis for human flourishing and fosters development and prosperity. Therefore, I suggest it is essential that all children can access equitable and inclusive primary and secondary education, regardless of gender, race, religion, and social background. In conclusion, quoting words from Mr. Robert Smith, an African American who is the founder and CEO, multi-billionaire of Vista Equity Partners, because someone believed in him and he began to believe in himself, so all people can succeed. He says, "We will only grasp the staggering potential of our time, which is now, if we create on-ramps that empower all people to participate." Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Brian Hurst. I'm a proud resident of Wycomico County. I'm also a board member of the United Way and a long-term Purdue associate of 36 years. County Council, we appreciate your work. Thank you for your tireless efforts. I'm here, and I can't possibly repeat or contest the members that have gone before me. The speakers have been both articulate and eloquent, and I think have done a fantastic job supporting the cause of early education. What I hope to offer is perhaps a brief personal and maybe a professional anecdote to help the cause. Unlike many people here in the room, we transferred to Wicomico County. We chose to move to Wicomico County in the yesteryear of 1991 from the New England area, transferred in with Purdue during my time with them. And at the time, we left a state, our eldest was 5 years old, that had an extremely strong early education system, state of New Jersey, where we lived. And at the time, we did a very thorough search. Well, I say we, I really meant my wife, of where to move and where to raise a family and how best to support our growing family. And we settled in Wicomico County because we felt it was the best choice for us. We settled at Fruitland Primary, had a terrific support system of teachers, graduated at Bennett High School, and ultimately graduated at Parkside High School. Go Rams. 3 boys that we had through the school system, all succeeded because of tremendous academic support that they got from teachers and staff and administration, as well as sports with some dynamite coaches and extracurricular activity, primarily marching band and community band. They're all excelling, thank goodness, and are pursuing, all 3 of them, pursuing advanced degrees. The youngest is currently in med school. So obviously, the schools properly prepared them for the next phase of their various careers. Our middle son has 2 children that live in Wicomico County. He has a delicate and difficult choice to make, and they're currently making that choice. His wife is also a teacher, so they're informed decisions, and they're forced with a difficult choice because of the education situation. From a professional standpoint of being a long-term Purdue employee and having transferred into Wicomico County, I ask rhetorically for the council to consider what would a transferee today look at? How would they review Wicomico County? What would they consider moving in 2018 versus what we did in 1991? How do we attract engaged family folks to help support our great systems within the county? And lastly, if we're not competitive with other counties within the state, within our education system, I fear we won't attract those transferees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hurst.
Good evening, Mr. President, Vice President, and council members. I honestly was not going to speak tonight, to be frank. I have all the city budget things going around in my head, and I don't envy you because in other meetings I sit on the side that you do. And you've been put in a very bad position, I believe. So let me start by telling you that, as the gentleman who just spoke before me, in 1983, when I was recruited to come down here and work for a job with Occidental Chemical Company, my wife and I came down for a visit. And I can remember our real estate agent, Millie Capella, getting in the car with us, and the first thing that I did was turn to my wife and say, "You go first." And she said, "Millie, how's the school system, and where's the best high school in the county?" I will tell you that I'm not sure I would have made the same decision today that I did back then. But I did, and I'm happy I did, because it's a great place. I also feel for you because everybody that speaks is coming to you with their hand out and saying to you, "We want this, we need this." I will tell you a difference that I've noted, and while I'm sitting on the other side of the table, the thing that separates one person or one agency from another is a plan. A plan. We have a plan. We have a plan. And all I can say is, please have the courage to step up. Make the first step on the journey for that plan. It will pay dividends. Education is the economic driver, and job growth, that's the key. It is the driver. My dad used to say, pay me now or pay me later. I would rather put it into the education system than into the public safety system after we have to deal with them when they grow up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Heath.
My name is Matt Tillman. I grew up in Salisbury, went away to college, came back, left for a while again. But I spent a 40-year career in the insurance agency business, of which 37 was here in Salisbury. I am now retired. I'm a grandfather of 3 who do not live here. I am a homeowner, and I've invested in a number of commercial properties in the area. I do pay taxes. 1 cent on our tax rate, I'm told, equals $600,000. I personally stand ready to support increasing that by 5 cents and investing it in our education system that will improve our business community and ultimately will increase our tax base. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman.
Hello again. My name is Jake Burdett. I'm a resident of Wacomico County, and this is actually not about the Board of Education fund. It was another fund that I was found going back looking through this, and I was a little alarmed to see that for 2019, there's only $3,430 allotted to social services. If you look through the chart, that's the third least amount of money given to any of these categories. The only things that get less money than it are the gypsy moth control and the Commission on Aging. I'm sure federal and state governments do a lot of funding for social services, but less than $3,500 seems pretty low to me. So I would ask that you please increase the funding for social services.
Thank you.
I do want to speak about the gypsy moth control. I cannot believe that we are only I did want to say that relative to what Mr. Tillman just spoke about, 1 cent on the tax rate equals $600,000. That's $10 per household. As you consider maintenance of effort and as you consider universal pre-K, we know that there's a $700,000 line item in the budget under Board of Education. I think the county executive wants to kind of use it for security and enhancements, and we know that you have to figure out what to do with that $700,000. If you want to go down the universal pre-K road, you know you can't one-time fund universal pre-K, because if Dr. Hanlon and her staff go down that road of hiring instructors, one-time funding can't happen. So as much as all of us in this room want universal pre-K, doing it under the guise of one-time funding is simply, it's not possible. And so if you go down that road of universal pre-K, you're moving the MOE meter a little bit. The other thing that I wanted to say to everybody here is that by law, the county council can go above maintenance of effort if it is dedicated toward education. So the county executive submits a budget. Normally the county council, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, as somebody else said, I don't mind being what Mr. Palmer said. If identified for the purposes of education, the county council can go above the requested budget amount that the county executive has put forward. A nod of heads, is that correct? Or at least would you look into that and make sure that that's correct? Because we understand that that is a possibility, And so if that's a possibility, it's something that I think clearly we would like you to look into. Thank you very much for letting me come back to the podium twice.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the council. I'm standing with Board President Don Fitzgerald and Vice President Jean Malone, and I know Mr. Fitzgerald really wishes that he could speak, but they are here, and we are speaking. I am speaking on behalf of the entire board. Several of our board members weren't able to be here this evening with us because we had split responsibilities this evening, but I do want to thank you for the opportunity to listen to all of the voices tonight, and hopefully you have listened with an open mind. And I want to thank the community members. Boy, as I look out, I was sitting here and I knew you were back there, but as I look out at the crowd, it is amazing to see you here this evening, and I cannot tell you how grateful I am on behalf of the 15,000 students in Wicomico County that you have come out to speak about the importance of investing in our future, and that is so critically important. I've been here, it's hard to believe, I've been back in this position now, or I've been in this position for 2 years almost. And I came back to the community out of retirement with a very strong desire to be part of improving our community and leading our public schools. And I want to thank many of you, a lot of you who are in the room, who were part of that process, that had the confidence in me, in my being appointed to this position, and trusting in my experience and my abilities to lead this system forward. And I take that responsibility very seriously. And as such, I immediately began with what leaders know they need to do, and that is creating a vision. I spent the first year crafting a vision with community input, 4 vision points that are now prominently displayed in all of our schools. But that first year, I did not come to you asking for anything above maintenance of effort because I wasn't ready. I knew I needed a very specific plan. And so in this second year, we identified strategic priorities and very specific plans in order to be able to achieve our vision. They were not created on a whim. They were based upon research and decades of experience that led to the creation, as you've heard about this evening, of Imagine 2022, and specifically outlined in Achieve 2.0, which is the vision moving forward. And then, as leaders do, we aligned our budget with those very specific priorities, sending the message that we understand that we can't just throw dollars at our public schools, but we need to invest in our future through a very specific business plan. So we come to today, or we come to this time frame, and I see this as a critical turning point, as a crossroads in the trajectory of not just our schools, but as of our community, going from what I believe is good to great. And so I ask that you consider the comments that you've heard tonight from our business leaders and other community members, that you consider those with an open mind and you do the best thing for this community. We all know the adage that when you do what you've always done, you're going to get the same thing. And so I hope that you will recognize that funding maintenance of effort only supports and barely supports the status quo. Thank you, let me say, for last year's one-time funding for the technology. That spoke volumes to me, but it was just a first step. Now we have a very specific plan. And this year, I'm asking you, the community is asking you to do more as evidence of your commitment to the education of our youth by providing funding above maintenance of effort. Any funding above maintenance of effort would be huge. It would help us in beginning to achieve that vision, the long-term vision, but it'll be a statement to the community that you truly don't want to settle for the status quo, that you understand the relationship between investing in your public schools and the long-term benefits to this community, to the economic vitality of our community. Thank you again for your patience tonight, for listening to so many community voices, and we look forward, the Board of Ed and staff look forward in the very near future to our budget work session where we can get into more specific details. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Hannah.
Mr. President, I believe that concludes the public comments.
Thank you, Ms. Hurley. Excuse me? If you want, do you want to? You want to? We are going to take a 5-minute recess. They also have to take care of the tapes, not the tapes, right? The new technology. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess and then we'll be back.